everybody. It's Regis again from the Practice Research Agency, where we always endeavouring to do our best to capture the truth of consumer consciousness. Today, we'd like to discuss the difference between what has been termed synthetic data and what I might call, real data, in the sense that real data collected as responses from real people, as opposed to synthetic data, which is created results from synthetic respondents. Just by way of context here, obviously I'm a professional, have been a professional market researcher my whole adult life. And this issue of synthetic data is probably the thing that is, if I could use the word, worrying the market research industry more than anything else because of what it promises, okay? And if what it promises is as useful or as reliable or as robust as what robust survey data and information is giving the clients, then certainly the industry has a tough uphill battle competing against something like synthetic data. So let's spend just a little bit of time comparing some synthetic data results on a concept compared to what I call survey data results on a concept. And when I say survey data, I'm obviously meaning the qualitative surveys that we are running that are collecting qualitative level information as well as quantitative information inside a quantitative instrument, which we have discussed in another couple of videos. But today I'd just like to compare outputs of synthetic data versus real data, and let's see what we're getting as a result. The example I'm going to use for synthetic data comes off a freely available, publicly available website. I'd like to understand really what it's providing versus what we, or someone like me, is providing through what I believe is leading edge, cutting edge market research, qualitative and quantitative together, basically. So let me give you an example, firstly, of synthetic data output before I use one of our own examples as a juxtaposition. And this synthetic data output comes in response to a particular concept in order to illustrate what is being provided. But nevertheless, here on our screen as well, here's the dummy concept that they have chosen to use as the communication tool for what synthetic results are actually like. So they've used this as the stimulus and now are giving us an example of the kind of output that one might expect using this organization. This is a pretty major synthetic data organization here. They're marketing to everyone, they're emailing everybody, they're promising a lot. In fact, they're promising you can get results for your concepts pretty cheaply, really, just by uploading the images of the concepts, and you'll get results back in seconds from various synthetic data sources. Now, we're going to go through one of them that is on their website. I'm not giving anything away. I know you can all read, but I'm just going to read through some of this as well and put it up on the screen, the response to this particular concept, because I'd like to discuss some of the results that are coming through. So this synthetic person is Jasmine, who is a digital native. So a digital native is someone who is born, I don't know, let's say roundabout, give or take a bunch of years, in 2000, which makes them about in their early 20s. And I'm assuming that this synthetic data person is someone who drinks the kind of product that is being communicated here, which is a sort of a cold coffee, caffeinated energy, I don't know what you want to call it, okay? So this is her response. So this is the Jasmine digital native, it's a synthetic person response. Okay, here's my take, and I'll point out the ways in which they're trying to do that, but then I'll also point out the ways in which this is just clearly not a response you would get from a person ever. This scan is basically a neon Y2K fever dream in the best way. Now, I'm immediately going to stop there, because what is a neon Y2K fever dream? Now, I'm old enough to remember Y2K, but I don't recall Y2K ever being a cultural reference for design or fashion or anything like that, let alone a neon Y2K fever. So this neon Y2K fever dream in the best way, assuming that there is a worst way, anyway. So now, and then it goes on to describe what the product actually is, which we avoid at all costs, really, in normal market research, to be honest, because we can see what it is already. It's a 16-ounce drink rocking a bold matte purple with glossy hot pink energy drink, etc., etc. Okay, so it's just, And the next bit is worrying. The whole vibe screams early 2000s tech nostalgia and those TikTok filter aesthetics that just pop on your feed. Seriously, this design is made to stop your scroll and would look unreal in an AR filter or a viral reel. Now, this synthetic person, are they a consumer of these products, or are they a marketer, or what are they? What kind of response is that to a drink? I mean, so Jasmine actually hasn't even told us anything about her response to the drink at all so far. Anyway, rather Jasmine's opinion of how it could be marketed, which is not really what market research is about. We don't really want consumers' opinions about how things should be marketed. They're not marketers. They're consumers. We want to know about their consumption, what they want, what they need, what they like. Anyway, what really catches my eye how it fuses that throwback nostalgia. Here we go again, a nostalgia for Y2K. It's news to me, right? With a super current digital native look. Now, who the hell describes themselves as a digital native? As marketers talk about digital natives as a group of people that they can market to, but digital natives don't refer to themselves as digital natives. Anyway, it's a moniker for a group of people, not for an individual. It's not an individual identification point, I don't think, a digital native. And here we go again in terms of providing not really a consumer response, but again, another piece of marketing advice for us. It's the kind of brandings that's just asking for a hashtag can glow challenge, picture snapping your best neon limp pic, tagging your crew, spiking a wave of creative post. I can totally see micro influencers unboxing this. I'm not sure. I don't think that I've ever seen a drink unboxing, but then again, I'm not looking for drink unboxings. Maybe they exist. Giving honest reviews about the taste and energy hit and letting us in on the brand's sourcing and sustainability story. Okay, so again, still don't know what Jasmine thinks of this drink, whether she'd buy it. She's just giving us marketing advice. So it's actually synthetic marketing advice from a synthetic person. But honestly, I'm always looking for brands to be as real as about their materials as they are about their marketing. That's a strange line as well from a respondent. If they're actually using recycled aluminium and eco-friendly inks, wow, I mean, this is really eco-friendly inks. Okay, I'm here for it, but only if it's recycled aluminium and eco-friendly inks. Again, nothing about the drink, nothing about its caffeinated nature, nothing about the taste. I'm going to show you an example of a food concept, and you'll see how different actual responses are to food and drink concepts. Until then, I'm all about the good vibes, real talk, and keeping things transparent, no greenwashing. So what do you mean no green? Jasmine just said, you know, if it's recycled aluminium and eco-friendly ink, then she's in, but no greenwashing. Just genuine energy. So this is at the end of this whole response is a reference to the product, just genuine energy. That's it. All right, let's just take that at face value for what it is. I really don't think that, and I know this is an example from the company, I really don't think this is actually a synthetic consumer response at all. This is not even trying to be a consumer response, to be honest, really. And what gets me is that they use a human voice, but the rest of it is completely sort of chat GPT style concoction in a way. It's got a sort of a human voice, but nothing that it says is something that a respondent would say. No one ever speaks like this about a concept. Before I switch across to comparing this to actual concept test results using our Qualantive system, which is giving us quant and qualitative at the same time. And that's why I want to compare it, because the synthetic data I've just shown you is a qualitative response. But now with synthetic data, they're also giving us quantitative responses. So basically the summary of this concept is appeal is 9 out of 10. I'm not sure if this is from Jasmine or the artificial respondent, or if it's kind of an aggregate of artificiality or syntheticness. I don't know. 9 out of 10. Visually awesome, perfect for gaming content. Okay, all right. Uniqueness, 8 out of 10. Stands out if it's got real values. Okay, what really gets me is the scores. Like, they're giving us actual scores. Like, these are synthetic scores. How do you create? I don't even know how they create synthetic scores. So no responses here at all about what we might expect for a concept. And so just to juxtapose that, let's go through some very brief responses. I'm not going to tell you what it's for, but it's for a food product. I've got drinks examples as well, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because it's what's being said and what's being shown is a concept. It's the same thing as what they've done. We've put up a picture of a concept to an actual sample of people answering a survey, and we've asked them a bunch of quantitative questions about that so we can get those things like uniqueness, relevance, appeal. We aggregate our 500 responses or whatever, and we can provide that number. Right? I'm not going to show you the quant stuff. That's just unremarkable. We all collect quant information. We can all make graphs. The issue I want to talk about here is what people are saying about this concept, right? And let me show you this graph first. And this is the qualitative comments about the concept. Remember, in Qualantive, we have the capacity to collect qualitative level information inside our surveys. And this is exactly one of those where we've done it for a particular food concept. There's a bunch of rats and mice in terms of the responses, but I'm going to show you the first 5 or 6, let's say the first half dozen responses here in terms of the thematic responses, in terms of what percentage of people referred to what, just to begin with, right? And you can see here, let's just look at the top 3 even. And this is in relation to a food product. And look at what they speak about. They talk about its perceived taste and quality. It's food, so quality comes into it, unlike a drink where quality is not a big deal, probably. It's more taste. Then the visual appeal, because it has an aesthetic. It's in a pack. So it's got a picture on the front. So the visual appeal of the food product as communicated via the packaging is absolutely essential. I mean, this is a big, big thing. The perception of the taste and the appetite appeal of a drink or a food concept is one of the primary reasons why packaging actually exists. Okay, we know it's to name it and to grab attention on the shelf and whatnot, but its depiction of the product in terms of the appetite appeal that it can create for it is essential. So taste and visual appeal, I'm not surprised this has come up, taste and visual appeal by a quarter of people spontaneously in an open-ended question as to why they would or would not buy this product. Excuse me. And then the other thing I'm totally not surprised about, and I'm actually surprised it's not a bit bigger, but I can't understand why, is price sensitivity. This was not mentioned once in that synthetic data example. So Jasmine, the synthetic digital native, didn't even once ask how much is this energy drink. This looks pretty expensive. Yeah, I like it, but if you think I'm going to pay $5 for it when I can buy a real coffee at 7-Eleven for $2, then sorry, okay? That's not going to happen. And I don't care what color it is, and I don't care if it's got eco-friendly inks for that matter. And that is actually a real consumer response. These are real consumer responses. And then we can actually provide a summary, qualitative summary to these responses in the way that I guess the synthetic data is sort of providing a summary of what, let's say, digital natives might think or whatever. We're actually providing a summary of what people meant when they talked about taste and quality, because we know that about a quarter of people mentioned it, but then we can actually understand what it is. Okay, so it reveals a split in expectations. So some viewed this as a quick and easy option, but doubted the ability to match, a kind of a homemade meal, for example. Many respondents tied taste to value, indicated they would only buy it if it was enjoyable and worth the cost. You can see how cost is tied into even things like taste and quality. Negative feedback often focused on specific issues, like it looked bland or it looked artificial. And the positive feedback was more highlighting the satisfying flavors, the portion sizes of the product, etc. So you can see how much qualitative detail is collected. There's a qualitative explanation for the visual appeal, a qualitative explanation for the price sensitivity. And as I've shown in a previous video, these things are related. And we have analysis now that shows how these things are related. The other thing we can do is we can actually take that same response and understand its sentiment, not by asking people about the sentiment, but purely by the AI reading the responses and classifying the sentiment. And it's a beautiful classification because it's not just negative and positive, because the world is not black and white. And consumers are very often neither negative nor positive. They're actually, one of the biggest issues with consumers is their indifference is the percentage of people who are indifferent or kind of have mixed feelings. These are, and you're just showing them a picture of a drink and a food. I mean, do you expect everyone to be either negative or positive? No, they're not. They're going to have questions. They're going to have mixed feelings. There's going to be a whole bunch of people who just don't care, right? And this is what happens on the shelf. This is actually what happens on the shelf. So here it is. This is actually quite a neat example because we've got a nice stratification of negative, positive, mixed, and neutral responses. And again, we can delve into each of these and understand what is driving the positivity and what is driving the negativity from real people. And then we can split this up by the various demographics. We could split up who are aged between 18 and 25 and compare them to the people aged between 40 and 50, whatever, right? And then we split up the comments and we see what the differences are between the demographics. And this is actually what we call a real concept test. A real response from real respondents where they're giving us their real intentions and their real feelings about this particular product. So there is a stark difference between synthetic data and real data, especially when it comes to doing things like concept tests. And the synthetic data and company that I'm showing here is in fact promising concept results very quickly and cheaply. Now, however, what are they saying about when to use this? Now, their answer here is really interesting. They're saying this is not a replacement for traditional concept testing, but it adds a powerful data-backed layer to your early stage strategy. This is really not for you to make a decision with, actually. This fits into your innovation chain in an earlier stage. This is, I've got 10 concepts. There's no way we're going to test 10. That's ridiculous. I need to test 3. I need to get some feedback here. And I guess any kind of feedback like this that is informed from the wisdom of the internet, if I can call it the wisdom of the internet, that's better than nothing, right? That's better than just gut instinct. And that's what they're saying. You can move beyond gut instinct. Now, what did marketers do before this? Because they wouldn't go off and engage in expensive concept testing to get 10 down to 3. They might try and do it as cheaply as possible, but then they'd only get some numbers back and it just wouldn't be enough, right? And now they're saying, well, you don't need to do that anymore. You can do this instead. So synthetic data, from what I can tell at the moment, and I'm not sure, this is probably going to change because I guess things only get better. But the problem with synthetic data is precisely that. It's a synthetic, it's a synthesis, and it does not come from individual responses. See, all of market research is nothing more than an aggregation of individual responses. And Qualantive in particular is an aggregation of both quant and qual data. So that's just a bit of a brief look into some differences between synthetic output and what I would call real qualitative data output, qualantive data output. It's not just qualitative, it is robust, quantified, built from the ground up qualitative data. So look, each has their uses. Synthetic data is something that might sit earlier in an innovation cycle, and I know from our own clients that this is in fact happening. But of course, it doesn't have the level of credibility and robustness as real data, because at least with real data, even though people are only predicting what they might do, no one knows what they're going to do when it's on the shelf at a particular price. During a month when they've had to pay out their car insurance and things are a bit lean, no one knows what anyone's going to do at that point exactly, but at least we're getting some real intentions. Not just real intentions, but real explanation as to why there is a positive and negative intention behind the concept. And I'll leave it at that for today. Thank you very much again. Bye-bye.